Yama, my name is Marlee Silva. I'm a proud Gamilaroi and Dunghutti girl. I'm a writer and the co-founder of Tiddas for Tiddas, and absolutely stoked to be on this live stream tonight, streaming from the traditional lands of the Kulin Nation. And I just want to begin by paying my respects to elders past and present of that nation and every single country that makes up this beautiful continent where you might be joining us from tonight. That is the beauty of technology. And, even in this kind of unprecedented, even though I feel like we've been using that word too much, but that's what it is this time, we're able to connect in this way and still talk about really beautiful stories and positive things that are coming out, even despite all the wildness that's going on. So tonight I'm really excited to be joined by a man of many talents. He's a rapper. He does so many amazing things, has written with Matt Groening for a TV show, and now to add to that list, he's a children's book author, and that's what we're going to talk to tonight. Adam Briggs, it's a pleasure to have you. How are you going?
I'm good. Nice to meet you electronically.
I think that's the only way we can meet people now, right? That's kind of the new normal.
I'm not mad at it.
How are you? Yeah. It makes it a little bit easier. How are you surviving in isolation for starters?
I'm doing okay. I'm thriving.
I feel like you've been busy.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. Like my industry got hit pretty hard with all the shows being cancelled and stuff like that. But I'm really fortunate with all the work I get to do. I haven't been too bored, and I've been very lucky to be able to keep myself entertained and stay healthy as well, and also just utilize this time I have to make some stuff.
Yeah, and just casually in amongst it all, you're launching your first children's book, Our Home, Our Heartbeat, which I can see on the kind of sitting behind you. Your setup looks heaps nicer than mine, by the way. Mine's just, I made sure I made my bed. I feel like I should have done a little bit more.
This is just where I hang out. It's where I keep my championship belt and my book.
Yeah. Just as a humble brag, a little flex with the championship belt there.
Yeah. It's a real deal one.
So, yeah, that's mad. I'm a bit jealous. So the book is called Our Home, Our Heartbeat, and it is inspired by one of your songs, When the Children Came Back. And, I'd love for you to talk about what inspired that song for starters.
Yeah, it was it was an idea I had when Triple J approached me to do a version, with their series they do. And you have 2 weeks to put together an idea for a track, or at that point I had 2 weeks to put together an idea. So yeah, it was NAIDOC week for their version. And yeah, it was like really, it was such a whirlwind to put together, because timing is not a great asset for creating a song. When you're wound up by these parameters. But I kind of thrive within those, within that pressure and that pressure cooker to make stuff. I got the idea because I wanted to make a moment, that there wasn't just a song and then you move on. It was like, okay, what can I do to really turn this this thing, this opportunity to have, one of the biggest audiences, on radio that I'd probably had at that time. And this is my opportunity, because everybody always tunes in to the Triple J version, everybody always gets around it. So I was like, all right, I got the big room. What do I do? And yeah, it just came to me. to do a cover, because it was, like, it's like a version, but my version of a cover, and to, pay homage to Archie Roach and do a sequel to his track. They took the children away, because at the end of the track, he says, the children came back, I came back. And I was like, how amazing would it be to be able to tell a part of the story, afterwards? It's like, not to say that everything was great after everybody came back, but an idea to celebrate, our triumphs and all the things that, and all our contributions to different, industries in Australia, the arts and academia and politics and sport, obviously. So yeah, it was all that rolled into one thought for, and to get it done in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's so wild that it was like that short amount of time. And I think, like, someone who's always listened to the Leica versions, the best ones are when they're not just a cover. They are kind of that, there's that new spin on it. And I think, because we kind of, I grew up knowing Archie Roach's songs, and to hear it kind of go from that really devastating story that he tells in his original, for it to be quite aspirational and celebratory, was really great. And so when did it kind of become something that you could maybe make a book about?
It wasn't like,
I just get a lot of ideas
all the time. And that was something that came across, my thoughts, and I wrote it down. I was like, what song of mine is like, because like Dr. Zeus and all these kids' books and stuff are all in, rhyme patterns. And I was like, what song of mine would make a good book? Like, that all the work's kind of already done. I've already written it. And so, like, I thought, like, Children Came Back would make a good kids' book. You know what I mean? And like, that was pretty much it. I was like, I'm going to turn that into a kids' book. And like, I obviously knew that I had to, format it and, change it and make it more, accessible to the pages and stuff like that. But to me, like, once I see it in my head, what it's going to look like and how it's can be made, I can do it. And like, that's how I've approached, pretty much everything I've done in my career, from, making albums and, to writing animations. I'd never written an animation before. I'd worked with Matt Groening and Josh Weinstein on Disenchantment, but I figured if I could get my hands on a script, I could probably do it. And so, and then I did. But, that was the same process I had with the book. It was an idea I had, and I thought this track would lend itself to this format really well. Let's just adapt that, and here we are. It wasn't too much thought.
That's like far out. I wish I could kind of embody that attitude of like, this is the thing. Yeah, I can do it. Like, that's really cool that you just can do that far out. And
well,
it is a really, yeah, I guess, well, there's, the inspiration for us as well.
Well,
of what the message you're giving.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, I wasn't a writer. Like, I'd never written a kid's book till last year, you know what I mean? Like, and now I've got one on my shelf. So, I wasn't that last year, and now I'm that this year, you know what I mean? Like, that's what my approach to everything has always been. It's you weren't that yesterday, you're this today, what could you be tomorrow? You know what I mean? Like, that's always been my approach. It's like, I've never limited myself to be like, okay, I'm a rapper and that's it. It's like, okay, I'm a rapper. All right, I've done that now. It's like, what else can I do?
I think
I think it's important that kids should know that they can try things and that it's okay if they're not really into it, and, you know, and they can try something else. I think that's always, you know, not to box in, especially Indigenous kids, not to box them in to think that they have to be one certain way or one certain thing. It's like you could be, you know, you could be anything. It's like it's what you apply yourself to and bring your tenacity to is what's going to, you know, dictate who you are.
And, you know, so the book, as the song did, kind of captures all these little snapshots of successful mob from the past and present, and kind of has this aspirational element of talking about the future. And, you know, for me personally, it kind of speaks to my childhood. You know, I grew up just wanting to be like Kathy Freeman, even though I couldn't run to save my life. But, you know, she was like me because she's a blackfella and she's successful. And I want to, you know, walk around a stadium full of people with the flag draped over my shoulders. And looking at it, did you have, who did you look up to as a kid, and are they captured in this book?
Gavin Wanganeen was definitely a big hero of mine when I was a kid. Like, you know, I was a big Bombers supporter. I went to, like, you know, the footy clinics, and, you know, Gavin Wanganeen was like one of my first ever, you know, black heroes when I was a kid. And, you know, premiership team and won the Brownlow, and, you know, it was mad. But like, yeah, like, you know, I had so many different heroes and so many different, like, inspirations just by virtue of all the different stuff I liked. I think because I grew up in such a country town, like I was really bored all the time. So like I just wanted to be into anything and everything. You know, I love guitars and I love riding my BMX, and like, you know, rap music was such a prevalent, you know, soundtrack to all this stuff, and movies, and like I was just such a consumer of this entertainment, that's what really drove me. And like it wasn't until I reached I guess like high school, and I was like, I just don't fit within this structure. I don't like it in here at all. Like, how do I work to never work again in my life? And that was like the moment when I realized it's like I'm not fit for a 9 to 5, go to work, wear a tie job. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't for me. I'd like, you know, I'd rather disappear. You know, it's like for me that was a worse outcome than anything I could think of. You know, some people enjoy that. Some people like that structure. They like that routine, but I was more interested in doing what I wanted.
Yeah. I think that you know, for some people, they in their much later years, they kind of realize, oh, maybe now I should do what I really want outside of that 9 to 5 thing. It's funny you're talking about being bored, because I reckon there's a lot of kids right now who are facing boredom for the first time after being stuck inside and in this new world.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, maybe they'll start thinking outside the box of what they can do and not have to be stuck in the 9 to 5, unless you want to.
Our kids are so creative, though. Like they're so kids are the best at it. It's like all the best ideas come from kids, you know, and the youth. Like they are the best at it. Like all the, you know, all the things that they make up to entertain themselves and have their own fun is always the best, you know, most genuine stuff. And I think like it's really important just to let, you know, that generation just make their own thing and let them explore what their thing is and what their idea is, and like, just let them go, like let them run with it, because like it was so stifling. I felt like as a kid, like just being told like, no, do your math, and I was like, man, that's really not. It's like, I'll do it later. It's really not, like, it's really important that I play some guitar at the moment or do something else. But yeah, structure is important as well, but I think it's the flexibility of that structure that I really pined for. Like that's what I really needed, was that understanding that not every kid learns the same way, and there's different kinds of intelligence. And being bored, can bring out the best and the worst in someone as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, you said like you weren't a writer of this kind until last year when you did it, but I guess like storytelling has always been a part of what you do. It's inherent in rap music and all that kind of stuff. So, were you writing songs as a kid? Did you start that sort of process then?
Yeah, terrible ones. You just write anything. You just write stuff. You just, and I think that's important, is like to get all those bad songs out of your system. Some people would like document those songs way too early, and and put them out. Like, but yeah, I was always like a story driven creative. Like that was always my that was always what kept me interested and got me going. Like it was always the stories and the narrative behind something, and knowing how things worked and how story worked, and how even like stories in movies to songs to comics and cartoons and all this stuff, that because like as I said, as a growing up in Shepparton in a country town, there wasn't too much else to do, and like trying to stay out of trouble, you just throw yourselves into these video games and cartoons and stuff like that. So yeah, it's always been a big part, and I still am such a consumer of stories.
Yeah, and I've got the book in front of me here, and I'm just looking at it, and one of the most special things about it, aside from the words, is the beautiful artwork.
Yeah,
that's accompanied it. Did you have much of a brief for the artists when it came to that, or did you just let them kind of get imaginative with it?
Yeah, well, I wanted them, like, Kate and Rachael, to really own their part. Like I wanted, like whenever I do anything collaborative, it's my work, obviously, but it's a collaboration, on all these different levels, and you want the people involved to have their fingerprint on it. You want them to have some ownership, so they're proud of that work as well. And that was something, from the get-go for this book. It's like I worked with Kate briefly, working on my dictator portrait. And yeah, like she's such a super duper talented artist, and like everything she makes, like in that way, like always pops, and they look so like vibrant and lifelike, and like kind of like cartoon but kind of real. It's like this bizarre like mix of like these accentuated kind of features, these big smiles and stuff like that, but there's also like a real kind of like human touch to it that like give them, like, it's not too cartoony. Like it always brings it back somehow. Like I don't know if it's in their eyes or something like that, but there's something that always brings it back that like I don't know, levels it out, so it's not super sugary. You know what I mean? Like it's vibrant, but it's not too cartoonish. And then like it was really important to have these backgrounds that were super light and super bright and vibrant that Rachael brought. Because like, you know, these characters needed to live somewhere in this book, and I didn't want them to live in everyday, you know, just situations. And like, you know, I didn't want to have just like, I wanted it to look like a dream. You know what I mean? Like that was the idea. It was like, I wanted the focus to be on the characters and the words and not so much like where they are. And like, that's why like Rachael's stuff is so cool because it's so vibrant, and it's like, each page, like through, you know, her design is just, it just pops. And like the characters live in such a, like a cool and an amazing place thanks to her. It's like, I couldn't have asked for a better team to come together to make it.
And I'm looking at the kids' faces in there, and there's something about, I can see what you mean, the sort of borderline of kind of real life looking and also that dreamlike state. And I feel like a lot of kids are going to pick up this book and flick through the pages and see themselves.
Yeah, well, that was really
which I think will be really powerful.
I wanted like, you know, like I grew up in a community where it's like, you know, Indigenous kids and Indigenous people don't look like the postcards. You know what I mean? We are various shades and various hair colors and sizes and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so I wanted the whole community from dark to fair skin, you know what I mean? Girls and boys and whatever, like all different facets of our community need to be represented in this. So each kid could possibly see themselves as any one of these kids, or, you know, just identify that, oh yeah, this is about, you know, inclusivity. It's not an idea of like, you know, Indigenous kids look like this. You know what I mean? It's like there's a whole lot of kids in here that look super different, and you know, I feel like that's really important for kids, and, you know, helping to know that people out there do understand, you know, that their identity isn't wound up in looking a certain way. You know what I mean?
And, you know, in the front cover of the book, in your dedication, you've said this book is for all our future leaders. Our job is to be good so you can be great, which I think is beautiful. What do you hope, you know, the kids who pick this up and read it feel at the end of it?
You know, I hope it just becomes normal. So like this book isn't such an anomaly. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I hope that this book is just like, yep, that's what we look like. You know what I mean? That's who we are. That's what we do. Like, I'd love it. Like in the future, if like, this is just, you know, it's not such a wow moment. It's like, yeah, no, this is like, you know, this is who we are. This is what we do. And like, you know, Indigenous success, you know, isn't such a, you know, an outlier as it is like, you know, our contributions and stuff to, you know, to society, politics, sports and beyond, are valued and celebrated like, you know, anybody else's.
And I wonder then on the flip side, because I think there'll be a lot of non-Indigenous households who want to have this as well. What do you hope it does for them to act, you know, contribute to that normality?
Yeah, it's like, because like this is for, and I said it, you know, when I released it, it's like I made this book for kids that were like me, that would have appreciated to see something cool that was Indigenous, that wasn't steeped in just, you know, such traditional values that kind of seem so far out of reach for a kid sometimes, and also hard to explain to their friends. So I wanted to, you know, like, I don't feel like, you know, this book is like part of the tapestry for, you know, all these other books. It's just another part to help tell the story of what our culture is, you know, amongst our values. And like, you know, I'm not saying that it's time for Dreamtime stories to move over or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about no, like here's another way to explain our identity, not just to our own kids, but to all students, to all kids, and help like bridge that understanding, especially like even adults, you know what I mean? Like to help them even understand how to talk to their kids about Indigenous people in Australia when they might not have met any that they know of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so many people I've met have said like, we didn't grow up, hanging out or meeting any Indigenous people. Like their exposure was very superficial. You know what I mean? Like, and so like, this is just another way to help, it's just another way to help along with everything else that's come before it. And that is also around now. It's just another avenue to be able to help explain, you know what I mean?
Mm. Mm. Do you feel, I mean, in a lot of ways, sometimes I get caught on sort of reflecting on things I've seen just in my own lifetime around changing attitudes and education around, in the broader Australian community of who we are as blackfellas. Do you feel like the next generation of kids have a much, I don't know, just a better starting point to kind of have people understand us now?
Yeah, you'd think so. Like we have a better, like like right now we have a better understanding of the whole world through the internet and technology. You know what I mean? So there's a lot more switched on teachers and people who are trying to shift their curriculums and stuff like that at school. Like I see it all the time on my Facebook and Twitter and socials. You know what I mean? Like so, there's always someone on there saying, I teach your song to, my grade 4 students. And I'm like, probably should be teaching them that song. It's got a lot of swear words in it. but you know what I mean? Like there's, I feel like the next generation, like is only going to get better and be better. And I feel like, if I can lend tools like this and, some of the songs that I have to helping like break down those barriers and, teach kids and like help that learning experience. Like I feel like that's all I have to do really. It's like, well, nobody has to do anything, but if my stuff and the things I produce can do that, then I think that's a good head start, and it's a better head start than what I got.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. This sort of stuff being out there is definitely going to make a big impact. So what, is there a few other songs getting turned into children's books now, or you got something bigger and better because you've done it?
I've got some other ideas. Like I do like the process of making, books. I like different processes, and like now that I've done it, I know I can do it. So I'll probably do it a different way. You know what I mean? I'll do something else. And I, the rhyme aspect of kids' books comes really easily to me since I've done, that's been like the crux of my spending money for the last 15 years. So yeah, I've definitely got some stuff in my notes to make some more, but I've got a lot to do. So when I do it, it'll be the right time again. You know what I mean? And it'll be another way of telling that story, and one less excuse for people to not know about us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for having this yarn with me today. It's so great to hear the background behind this beautiful book that I think should be in every household, regardless of whether you've got kids in there or not. I'm a big kid. I'm getting a copy myself, and look forward to seeing what else comes out of those notes you've got. So thanks so much.
Thank you. It was good fun.
If you do want to grab a copy, the book is available from independent booksellers across the country. And there's quite a few that are doing free or discounted shipping at the moment to help you get through this isolation with some beautiful books. Peace out, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Visit wheelercentre.com for the best in books, writing and ideas from Melbourne, Australia and the world.